Online Racing is sponsored by Elgato, who created this lovely stream deck. For more information about the stream deck, the link is in the description below.
Hello and welcome into the Apex Online Racing's YouTube channel, where tonight we are back for round number 9 of the Hype Energy F1 Leagues Season 19, round number 9, coming to you from the Hockenheim ring for the German Grand Prix. A track that's normally been quite a mainstay on the calendar over the seasons, dropped out of favour over recent years, and obviously track much well known for that massive long run into the forest that it used to be until it was redesigned in 2002. But the stadium section track brings us some fantastic racing nonetheless as we move along, and it took until 1995 before Germany had a home Grand Prix winner when Michael Schumacher finally won the German Grand Prix in 95 on his way to his second World Championship. Just under 3 miles round, 17 turns in total, 2 DRS zones, one up towards turn number 1, but the big one's going to be along that curved back straight, the Parabolica, up towards turn number 6. We'll look out for a lot of overtaking down into there, and then watch the cars have tons of grip coming through the stadium section, the 12, 13 and all the way to 17 as well. We've got the usual race follow-up tonight. It's obviously an 18-minute qualifying session followed by a 34-lap race tonight, and the distance between the pole position and turn number 1 is only 310 metres, so not a long way to get into turn number 1. You've got your tyre strategy tonight. You can see the soft tyre, the medium is about 1 second slower than the soft, and then 1.5 between the soft and the hard. And this is one of the tracks where we are likely to see a good mix of strategies here this evening. As we move on to the championship standings, and after last week's win, it is Williams' Jim Sven who increases his championship lead now over the 100-point mark at 111 points. Danny MG just behind the 100-point mark in second. You see Vasta Racers moved up to third, and then Sparks, Lewis, Prunez, Lee, Finlay have all moved up because Paris's totals have been removed since he's been down to reserve. And as you can see at the bottom, Surface got his first points last week in Australia, picking up P8, getting himself 4 points finally on the board. On the Constructors' Championship, you see the only move is Alfa Romeo, with Sparks' great second place last week, moving ahead of Toro Rosso. Williams 100 points clear of anyone else on 209 points, where you've got Racing Point next up on 109. Really interested to see if anyone else can do better tonight. Ferrari, the biggest DNF so far this season, with 5 in total. My name is Andy Campbell. I was trying to say something else there and I don't know what it was. Lovely to have you along here this evening. Joining me in the commentary box as always is my commentator partner in crime. It is the wonderful one and only Mr. Kieran McGinley. Kieran, great to have you along here as always for what should be another fantastic night worth of action.
Yes, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Welcome along to the German Grand Prix here in the Hype Energy Apex Online Racing PS4 F1 League. Yes, I'm joined with alongside Mr. Andy McCampbell, as I think he's going to
just about.
But anyway, yeah, I'm the one that has the MC in the name, Andy, not you. But anyway, yeah, the German Grand Prix obviously redesigned, as you say, and opened up in 2002 as a new stadium section circuit designed by Hermann Tilke, who had become an up-and-coming name and a memorable name for years to come. Yeah, I quite like this circuit. It's got plenty of straights, it's got plenty of narrow sections, plenty of overtaking opportunities as well, to go side by side, especially in the third sector, so be wary of that as Nolan now puts himself on pole position with a 112.2. In terms of quali times, well, it's going to be quite an interesting one, and it's going to be really based on strategy as Vasta Racer now goes on to a 111.8. You're looking about the low 111s, possibly even a 110 here tonight, and expect teammates to be pretty much working together to slipstream, especially through Parabolica and onwards down towards the hairpin here, that can buy you anywhere up to around 2 or 3 tenths of a second over a single lap. So teammates will be working together here tonight to try and get the fastest time possible.
Yeah, absolutely. Already laps on the board. Danny MG has just put himself onto provisional pole at the moment, a 111.5. You can see most of the time so far being set on the hard compound tyre. We will come on to strategy much later on during the formation lap actually, but we are expecting to see quite a few different strategies possibly here tonight. It's one of the few tracks where you can see quite a bit of difference, so we will be looking forward to some of that as we go along here tonight. Just trying to find someone who's coming towards the end of a lap so we can jump on board for the Scott lap. Can you see anyone coming towards the end of an out lap or something? I think Blizzard is, isn't he?
I believe Blizzard is on an outlap right now, so that would possibly be a good target there. Tactician's just on the way out the hairpin, so yeah, I'd say the McLaren of Blizzard.
We'll use the McLaren of Blizzard there. He's just been picking his way slowly through the final couple of corners. We jump on board with the McLaren for this week's Scott lap here at the Hockenheim ring. As you can see, powering down towards turn number 1. It's such a fast corner, 6th gear on the way in, around about 150 miles an hour. Now be careful not to pick up any track extensions on the inside. Late on the brakes, around about 60 odd metres for turn number 2, up to 4th gear to eliminate wheel spin through the curve of what is turn number 3. And you can see the McLaren, the Lee Finlay up ahead, teammates working together, what Kieran just mentioned. So we go through the curve of the Parabolica up towards what is turn number 6, and you're braking so late, around about 80 metres into the hairpin. It's going to be the best overtaking zone on the track here this evening. Back up through the gears towards the next turn, flat out right hander. You've got Mercedes grandstand up ahead, braking as late as you can into here, down to 2nd, quickly back up to 4th, bring it to the left hand side, back to the right, pretty much flat out, small lift on the way through there for Blizzard. Now into the stadium section, turn number 12, use the inside curve as much as you can, a little bit of runoff on the outside as well, into the Sachs curve, turn 13, it's cambered to the inside so you can carry a lot of speed through there, through the quick chicane of 14 and 15, now into the last 2 turns, turn 16, use a little bit on the exit and a lot on the inside through turn 17, and Blizzard goes across the line, and it is a 1 at 12.1, puts him in 6th position at this point in time, so not a bad lap time there from Blizzard as he looks to continue to consolidate his good championship standings so far.
Yeah, not bad at all. And you can see most of these drivers are on the hard tyres right now. As Andy said, to go through a little bit of the strategy right now, assuming it's going to be a dry race, then the strategy is either going to be medium to hard, with the pit window being between laps 10 and 15. The other alternate strategy really is the hard tyres, which is to go for lap 18 to 23 as the pit window. You can try and go for a soft to hard strategy, but the window's at lap 5 to 7, and there's a very real chance of you blistering and puncturing the tyres, especially the hard tyres, towards the end of the race. But there might be a theory as to why so many drivers are on the hard tyres right now, or at least prepping to go onto the medium soon, is that during the race there is an expectation of rain towards the end of tonight's race here in the F1 race. We don't know when exactly, but there is rain forecast towards the end of the race, so that is going to spice it up really well. The thing with that is that drivers will know that they've got that rain indicating, or that indication that it's going to rain towards the end of the race. What they don't know is how much the track's going to be affected by that wet weather. Will it be enough for intermediates? Could they try and get away and stay onto the slick tyres towards the end of the race, a la Belgium 2008, and just go for one lap of absolute treacherous driving just to get to the checkered flag? Who knows? We'll have to find out when we head to the race.
Definitely. I mean, it could end up being like Belgium that we had earlier on this season, where it rained with about 3 laps to go. A couple of drivers came in, the lead cars kept going in the slippery conditions. So depending on when it rains, that could make for a very interesting finale here this evening. And it's been so close throughout the season so far as well, so expecting much of the same. Just to bring you up to date, you can see there's only 18 drivers here. We've normally had a full 20 car grid most of the season. No Lama Queena this week, and we're also missing Prinez in the Racing Point. So Renault and Racing Point have only got 1 driver here this evening. You can see in second at the moment in the Ferrari is Liam Parnell. Now he has now moved into that seat full time after Deso decided decided to drop out of the season. I know he'd been having a few issues, he's struggling for confidence and form, so hopefully we'll see him back soon. But Liam stepping up to the plate and already up in the second position. Ferrari desperately needs some points on the board as they still sit at the bottom of the championship, albeit on 10 points. And in the pits is IGK Domi. Now he replaces Joclat here this evening in the Red Bull, so at least Red Bull have managed to get a substitution in late there for the Spaniard, and Domi currently in 8th position. Lewis, is his teammate, is the only driver who's actually not set a lap yet. All the field has set at least one lap, although Gamers and Sven's are definitely not representative. Down to Surface in 15th, just under 1 second separates the field. Danny is your pole sitter at the moment. Casper has put himself up in the second just with his latest lap there. 5/100ths down. Liam in third, 1/10ths down. Then you've got Jonathan in 4th position for Renault coming into the stadium section on his latest lap by the looks of it as well. 2/10ths down. Vasta Racer just a thousandth of a second behind him, and running behind him on the road as well, coming into the stadium section. He's in 5th. Nolan in the Toro Rosso in 6th, and Lee Finley in 7th, Tactician up in 8th, Sparks in 9th, and Domi rounding out the top 10. We've got 8.5 minutes to go, and there's still plenty of chance for people to chop and change towards the front of the field. But it looks like a few of the drivers starting to just come back into pit lane, maybe going to look to change over to the medium or the soft compound tyres, especially if that rain is coming. It'll be really interesting to see how that changes people's strategies here tonight.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if people try and go for the hard tyres. Maybe if they want to risk it, try and go for maybe 2 stints of medium tyres and hope that it's wet enough for intermediates so that they could just use the one type of compound in the race, which of course would be allowed. If that rain hits and intermediate tyres are used, then you're fine to use as many of the similar dry compound as you like, but it's such a risky strategy, especially with rain towards the end. It's going to be a bit of a headache for those drivers out there to try and pick the right strategy. What we can try and confirm, Andy, is that most of these drivers will be on the dry setup. They're trying to attack this track, so we should be seeing some good qualifying times because the majority of the race is going to be run in the dry, so they'll just be trying to get as fast as they can on the laps and basically try and beat the rain towards the checkered flag. We'll see how successful they are.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if it's only going to be towards the end of the race, then it would be pretty crazy to go for any sort of compromise on the setup, you would think, if the majority of the race is going to be run in the dry. So expect some quick lap times towards the end. Obviously, Danny's time at the moment on the hard compound tyres. He's fitted a set of mediums to go back out. It's a 111.5 at the moment. Every lap so far, pretty much, that's been set has been on the hard compound tyre. So we'll see how that changes, because as you can see, if I change it onto fitted, there's quite a few mediums and a couple of soft runners in there as well. Surface moved up in his last lap there into 11th. He was gained about 4/10ths in that lap time, so that's pretty good from him. But with 6 and a bit minutes to go, it's pretty quiet out on track, apart from Domi and Speedster. Gamer's on a lap at the moment as well, so we'll watch the Alfa Romeo. In fact, he's just coming back into the pits just to ruin that. So we'll just follow Domi in the Red Bull since he's about to start his latest lap, with just over 6 minutes of qualifying to go here in Apex Online Racing's Hype Energy F1 PS4 tier. Thank you very much for joining us here this evening as well. Great to have you all along once again. Don't forget, next week is normally meant to have been the break week, but we will be running the Chinese Grand Prix, which got postponed a couple of weeks ago due to PSN issues, so do make sure to join us next week for that. It will be the only Hype Energy Leagues running next week, unless something happens to the other tiers tonight, which I hope doesn't.
Yeah, well, what you've done there, Andy, is
jinx.
Yeah, that's exactly what you've done. I was just about to say that, but yeah, in theory, we will be the only Apex Online Racing League racing next week, so hopefully you can join us for what should be a fantastic Chinese Grand Prix. And you know, it is a bit sadistic of me to laugh at the people who would practice so much for China. It's such a technical circuit where you need the exact right setup, the exact amount of time, putting all those hours in, all those laps in, only for the PS service to just go down at the precise moment. But precise enough that it postponed the F1 race, but all the other leagues and everything ran perfectly perfectly fine, Andy, which was annoying to not only us but the drivers as well.
Yeah, absolutely. But you know what? It still gives them the chance. Nobody lost out. Although they put the practice in, it'll still come in handy come next week. We're currently watching Fabi in the Ferrari. He's just starting his latest flying lap. He came away from Domi because it looked like he was slowing down going up the straight. And it looks like Fabi's going to get a nice little slipstream here off the Williams, off your championship leader Williams, Jim Sven. So that's an interesting one where two different teams there kind of helping each other. Whether that was planned or just completely coincidental, who knows. But Fabio will be very happy to have got that slipstream up towards turn number 6, through the curve of turn 7, up towards turn number 8. You just chuck it down the gears, locking up there as the inside tyre unloads as you turn into that left-hander, through the curve of 9 and 10 and up towards 11, 12 and into the stadium section. They're so quick through here, around about 150 miles an hour in that corner now. And I remember back in the day when it was the old layout into the forest with the really skinny rear wings on them, they would come into that stadium section and the cars would just be all over the place, just sliding everywhere with a lack of downforce. We don't see that now, but we do get to see Fabi 2 times clear up into pole position on a set of medium compound tyres. So on the medium compound, and a bit of slipstream from Sven has put the Ferrari driver into provisional pole just now. Now I'm going to stick with him because Sven's just starting his lap, and I wonder if the Ferrari driver is going to try and repay the favour that he just got from the championship leading German. So Sven's home race here, but looking for a good result, and yet Fabi is going to repay the favour. So you just wonder if these two came in agreement beforehand, or is it just purely coincidence? Who knows, but it's helped both of them out here tonight so far.
Absolutely, and Fabi with that time at the top of the table there, 1:11.3. He's hit some good form recently, which has been much needed for himself then. In the last 2 races, they have been point scoring positions. I believe in 8th place at, I think it was the US Grand Prix, and then 7th place at the Australian Grand Prix. Sparks now goes top, 1:11.1 there from the Alfa Romeo driver. But Fabi there, getting his way up the order. I won't be surprised to see him in 6th place if he follows that pattern here tonight.
Yeah, you never know, he could carry on moving up. I'm just watching the end of Sven's lap here. He came into the stadium section, he was so close to that wall on the left hand side before you throw it to the right. Here comes the championship leader up towards the line, P2 for Sven. Just 7 100s down on Sparks, who's put himself into pole position. Now Sparks has already had 1 pole position, if I remember correctly, as well earlier this season in Belgium, and obviously got that great result last week in Australia where he ended up in P2 as Danny puts himself 3 times clear of anybody else. The Spaniard back on form again, so that puts him back there. But Sparks getting himself in the mix once again and really starting to show some good form as we come into the end of the season. And we've only got 2 minutes left in this qualifying session here at the Hockenheim ring. You can see Fabi once again, another slipstream off his Sven, so they're definitely working a little bit together there, which is really interesting to see considering they're not actually teammates.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to point out something, that last year's pole position time in AOR F1 PS4 was a 1:11.003, I recount. So we're already going quicker than that with a 1:10.8 there from Danny, and expect that time to be really a hard time for the others to try and focus on there. Gamer and Sparks there within 1,000th of a second each other, the 2 teammates there. And of course, Sparks will be looking to try and build on his fantastic form, his first ever podium in AOR F1 PS4 last time out. He was absolutely thrilled with it, and he said himself that he wants to build on that momentum. Germany, he said, wasn't one of his favourite tracks, but he's looking to just try and get the best result he can.
Yeah, absolutely. Tactician's put himself up into P2 at the moment as well. We have a minute to go in the session, so not seen much from the Finnish driver this season. Been a bit off the pace sometimes, but that's a really, really good lap time there. Danny's back into the pits, so the Spaniard won't go any quicker than what he already has. There's Liam Parnell just starting his latest lap with 40 seconds to go, going through turns 3 and 4. Just trying to find out who's coming towards the end of a flying lap. Sven working the slipstream with Fabi once again, so these two definitely working together, which, as I say, I've said it a couple of times now and it's true. I find it very interesting that they're not even teammates and working together, but it's really, really cool to see. Onyx just puts himself up into P7 there with his latest lap time. Good lap there from the Dutch driver, 4 times down. Vasta Racer finally showing a little bit there, and Lee Finlay puts himself into P3, the Scotsman, before retiring from the session, as does Vasta Racer and Spark. So we're starting to see the end of the session. We're on board now with Liam Parnell as the checkered flag is now out. We're on board with the Ferrari driver coming into the Sachs curve. Nice and easy through there, getting on the power as quick as he can, up through the curves, now into the final 2 corners, taking it nice and easy. He's heading back for pit lane actually, and Sven's finally got himself a good lap time on the board, up into P2. It's a Williams 1-2 at the moment, and that's just what they want as they come in to this race, just trying to consolidate that championship lead even more. Casper looks like he might be on a lap at the moment, down in 16th position. I think he's the only driver that can improve that's still out on a lap just now. So we'll follow the Dutchman towards the end here, coming into the stadium section, and let's see what can he do. He's just about 7 times, nearly 8 times down on pole position at the moment, throwing it into the final 2 corners. Can the Dutchman improve? He's been dropped down to 4th in the championship. He can't be down the field here if he wants to be doing anything, but it's only 10th for Casper. That is not what he would have wanted at all, and that's going to really help the Williams drivers in the championship. But Tactician, his teammate, is up there in 3rd, could spoil the party indeed, but it is Danny MG who takes yet another pole position. I'm going to need to get the record book up there because I cannot remember how many that is, but it's certainly more than 1, that's for sure, that Danny's had. Let me just see, he's had 2, so that's his 3rd pole position. Him and Sven have got 6 pole positions between them out of the 8 races that we've actually had this season, just proving once again how good they have been so far this season. But Danny MG, Williams Jim Sven, 1-2, Williams on top again here in Germany.
And they're proving their worth, absolutely. That's why they're 100 points clear at the top of the Constructors table, and why this is slowly becoming a Williams-dominated season. But in the qualifying results, and as you can see, quite close across the board. Danny taking pole position, his 3rd one of the season. Sven in 2nd place. Tactician 3rd with Lee Finley in 4th. Vasta Racer 5th with Parnell in 6th. Lambert in 7th with Gamer in 8th. Sparks in 9th, and Casper rounds out the top 10. It's Onyx in 11th, Fabi 12th, Surface in 13th, Dommy in 14th, Jonathan 15th, Speedster 16th, Welsh in 17th, and Blizzard there on the hard tyres, 18th place for him. The entire field separated by 1.3 seconds.
Yeah, another very close field indeed, and looking to be an exciting race. Once again, 4 times cover, the top 10, all of them on the medium compound tyre. But before we get to the formation lap, a quick word from the title sponsor, Hype Energy. We'll be back in about 30 seconds time. And we are back. You can see the pit lane there as they get ready to take the formation lap in about 20 seconds time. And you can tell, even just by looking in pit lane, the sun's not out as much as it was in qualifying. It is a little bit more overcast, which then draws into that bit we said earlier about rain being expected towards the end of this race. We'll go through the strategy in full detail in just a moment once they get underway here on the formation lap, which is just about to start right about now, just to make it look good. There we go. So let's just quickly look at the tyres people have gone for outside the top 10 before we go through the strategies. So top 10 all on the medium compound tyre, and then the rest of the field are all on the hard compound tyre, except for the Red Bull driver Dommy, who is on the mediums down in P14. So that is going to be an interesting one indeed. If we just run this as if it was a pure dry race, that would be your strategy. We've got 3 lots of options on there. You've got the details though, Kieran, so I'll let you go for it.
Absolutely. Well, medium to hard looks like it's going to be the most popular strategy across the field, with the pit window opening on lap 10 and closing on lap 15. The alternate strategy is the hard to medium, with the pit window opening on lap 18 and closing on lap 23. That's to then go on to a set of medium tyres. The really aggressive strategy, if you wanted to try for it, no one has tried just yet, but it would be soft to hard, with the pit window opening lap 5 to 7. But it's going to be a real task to get those hard tyres to the end of the race. And I think for most of these drivers, they've decided not to go for the soft tyres because the risk of those hard tyres puncturing towards the end of the race is just too high. They do not want to be putting themselves at that risk. But with that risk of rain towards the end of the race, time will tell if it's wet enough for intermediate tyres or whether drivers will try and brave it to slicks to get to the checkered flag. I'm looking forward to this one, Andy.
Yeah, this is going to be interesting. We've seen a few wet races at Hockenheim in the past as well. You can see just how treacherous it can get, especially last year in 2019 in the real life race on that drag strip to the outside. But you're looking there at Danny MG and the championship leader behind him, his teammate Williams, Jim Sven, just crawling towards the start line here for the start of the German Grand Prix. We've got 34 laps ahead of us. Danny and Sven on the front row, Tactician and Lee Finlay 3 and 4, Vasta Racer in 5th, with Liam Parnell in 6th on his debut full time for Ferrari, Nolan in 7th, Gamer and Sparks 8th and 9th, and Casper down in 10th position. This is Apex Online Racing's PS4 F1 tier, and we are about to get underway, waiting on the 5 red lights. Here we go, 3 lights, 4, then 5. It's lights out, and here we go for round number 9. And what do the starts look like? Danny's got a good start there, Sven pulls in behind him, and so does Tactician into 3rd. It looks like Sparks has already got ahead of Nolan side by side, with the Toro Rosso going off the track to keep going, and you can see a bit of bumping and barging in the background. It looks like Liam Parnell looking down the inside there into the right-hander there, on Vasta Racer, but unable to do so. Jonathan, and we've got cars off the track, and that looks like the Red Bull of Domi dropping to the back of the field there on the medium tyres. That's not going to help him at all. Surface is at the very back of the field, and I wonder if he's picked up any damage. We jump back forward though, because it is a melee into the hairpin at turn number 6. First time rounders, cars off the track up ahead. Onyx has managed to sneak through quite a few positions there. Nolan going backwards a bit. Sparks has got through. Can Sparks get by into the turn number 8 here in the Mercedes grandstand section? He's going to squeeze the Haas wide a little bit, and he's got that move done. Very nicely done indeed. Casper's dropped down to 12th. Look at Nolan now going up the inside into the stadium section and getting the move done. So Onyx dropping back down 2 positions. Cars side by side in the background. That was Blizzard. Jonathan, there's a Red Bull off the track. That's Lewis Welsh. He's collected there on Jonathan, the Renault driver, and he's got a 3-second time penalty for cutting a corner. Probably some wing damage to go with it. Hectic first lap up front. It's all pretty good, and we've got cars in the pits already. Onyx, Casper, Domi all in pit lane. Very early stops. Obviously going to go and run long. This is interesting already.
Yeah, absolutely. Just to pick and undo the first lap of the race there, it looked like Domi missed his braking point going in towards turn 2 there, made contact with Surface. The two of them then came together through turns 3 and 4. That's why the Toro Rosso there of Surface was around. He did get front wing damage on the left-hand side, I believe, of his front wing, so he's had to pit in 4 repairs. But as you can see, the 4 in the pit lane right now going onto a set of the hard tyres, and they're going to try and hope they can let those tyres go to the end of the race, or at least until the wet weather comes. Here comes Blizzard then up the inside of the Ferrari as he looks to try and hold on then in towards turn 8. He gets the move done, and Blizzard, by the way, now up to 10th place on the second lap, having started from the very back of the grid. That is a great start from the McLaren driver.
Yeah, up 8 places already as Blizzard. He'll be extremely happy with that start, and on the hard compound tyres, so he can go long into the race indeed. Up the front, Danny's nearly a second clear as we're about to start lap 3, and this is when DRS will obviously start to become available. It won't be available down the front straight this time. They'll need to wait until they go through the parabolica curve up towards turn number 6. But as we start lap 3, your biggest gainer is Blizzard, up 8 places. You can see Lewis, despite having a trip across the grass at the Sachs curve, is up 4 places. Jonathan's up 3, and Speedster and Sparks are up 2 positions. Biggest losers are those that pitted, which is Casper, Onyx, Domi and Surface. Obviously Surface got shunted to the back of the field, unsure what happened to him, but he's made an early pit stop like some others have done. We jump on board here with Jonathan. We've got a great view of everything up ahead as Blizzard goes up the inside of Gamer. We jump on board with Fabi to see the end result. The Ferrari driver is going to try and sneak up the inside of the Alpha, but the medium compound tyres on that Alfa Romeo got much more grip on the racing line, and he's able to at least only lose 1 position at the meantime. So Blizzard gains another position. He's now up 9 places. He's gained half the positions from where he started at the back of the field in a phenomenal first 3 laps.
Yeah, absolutely. And it makes me wonder what just went wrong in qualifying. The only driver in the 112s in quali there only set the time on hard tyres, let's be fair to him, but he is absolutely on it today, up to 9th place now on the 3rd lap of this race. He's absolutely going for it now. He looks tuned into this race now.
Absolutely. He's now got a bit of a gap though before he catches anyone else, so 9th place downwards have been disconnected from the top 8. And Danny is out of DRS range already on his teammate Sven, so the gloves might just be off at Williams. They've obviously had a good relationship, they will do all the way through I'm sure, but Sven now no DRS to defend from the oncoming pack behind. He's got 3/4 of a second at the moment, but his teammate's not giving him any help. Maybe the gloves are off in the championship battle between those two. Sven obviously leads that at the moment on 111 points to Danny's 98, so Danny needs a few good results to get up through the field as Fabi sneaks up the inside on Gamer into the hairpin. Look at Jonathan trying to get sneaky there on the inside, but again the medium compound tyres on the Alpha just getting enough traction on the outside. You can see Lewis going up the inside. That's a very brave move through there, trying to go up the inside. Jonathan's gone late in the brakes and basically shunted the Alfa Romeo out the way there. The Alpha's going to keep the inside line. I think he's got some wing damage, he does, so Gamer will not be too happy at the Renault drivers. You see Lewis trying to go up the inside into the stadium section as well. He cannot do that, but Gamer's got some wing damage, which I think happened due to that incident on turn number 8 on by Jonathan, but Gamer dropping down the field pretty quickly, having started in the top 10.
Yeah, Lewis has struggled in qualifying and trying to make his mark in this race so far. Currently P13, and of course with that 3-second time penalty next to his name, that will be added to the end of his race. Just an interesting fact for you, in the previous 7 races, 5 of those wins have come from the Williams drivers. That's how much they've been dominating this season so far. The only other 2 wins were Vasta Racer and Casper, pretty much back-to-back at the British Grand Prix and Japanese Grand Prix. Every other win has been won by a Williams driver, so don't expect that domination to end anytime soon. The fact of the matter is that Sven here has 3 wins to his name, Danny has 2, and in championship implications here, Danny needs this win to try and level the playing field if it comes down to that count-back result there. Gamer has been passed by Welsh there in through turn 7, and the Red Bull driver now moves up to 12th place. Meanwhile, Finley there, who has been struggling of late, currently in 4th place right now, the McLaren driver, has had a little bit of a tepid season, but he's hoping to kickstart this in the last 4 or 5 races of this season. He's only 5/10 behind Tactician and really wants that podium here at the German Grand Prix. The only thing is when is that rain going to hit? Those engineers and those drivers will be working harder than ever, possibly talking to each other even more now, trying to be updated when that rain is actually going to hit. But at the moment, the clouds look okay.
Yeah, looking okay at the moment. Meanwhile, Speedstar and Gamer getting very close together with a little bit of lag going on as well. You were mentioning Lee Finley. I remember 2 seasons back when he was racing here in season 17, he was on course for a podium result and then binned it through turn 1, so you will definitely not want a repeat of that here this evening. That will be an interesting one to keep an eye on, but he's certainly showing some decent pace at the moment, so trying to work our way through the field, see if anyone fancies making a move. Speedstar's going late on the brakes. He probably knows Gamer's got a broken front wings. You'll have seen him struggling with understeer through the fast corners, and Speedstar, the American, up into P13 at the moment and trying to see if he can make his way through the field. As Gaming Alimonda, Marcus pointed out in the chat, Blizzard will struggle to try and catch up to those ahead. The good thing for him though, Blizzard, is that he's pulled 2 and a bit seconds over Fabi, so he can just concentrate and just drive in the car as he wants. It's still 4.5 seconds to catch up to Nolan in 8th, but he's at least not got to worry about the cars behind at the moment. Lap number 7 of 34, still a long way to go. We are expecting some rain in this race, remember. Danny leads by 1.3, nearly 1.4 seconds from his teammate Williams. Jim Sven in second. Tactician having his best race of the season so far, up there in 3rd, followed by Lee Finley in 4th, then Vasta Racer, Liam Parnell, Sparks and Nolan all the way down to 8th. So there's a bit of a train starting to form behind Sven at the moment. It's 2nd down to 8th for almost pretty much in that big massive DRS train, and it's likely it'll stay that way until they come into the pits to get rid of the medium compound tyres. You see Sven just pulling to the right hand side there, unsure if he's trying to break a slipstream or if he just had a wee bit of a wobble on the way out of turn number 6, but he's dropping the 1.6 behind, so the German at his home Grand Prix is struggling while the Spaniard is just sauntering off into the distance.
Well, I'm just having a look at Blizzard here. He's stabilised the gap between himself and Nolan at the moment. It's currently 4.8 seconds. Now, he'll be hoping that Nolan starts to try and battle Sparks up ahead because, of course, once you start battling, you start costing yourself and the other driver lots of time, which allows then the driver behind to try and close in on that gap then as we head in towards lap 8 of the German Grand Prix. Danny leads from Sven by 1.7 seconds. Tactician then is in third with Finley in fourth. Vasta Racer there is in 5th place with Parnell in 6th spot, 7th, and Lambert in 8th place. Blizzard 4.9 now behind that 8th place, and Fabi rounding out the top 10. Welsh is trying to look for a way past Jonathan right here, but he's made a little bit of an error going through turn 1 there. He's lost ground on the Renault driver of Jonathan, and Jonathan wants to try and take away that final point scoring position, and just going all over the place. Finley trying to get away past Tactician. He really closed up there, just under 0.3 of a second between him and Tactician ahead, and just as I say that, Jonathan has got the move done on the Ferrari of Fabi, and Jonathan now moves up into the points.
Yeah, just got the end of that one there. DRS up towards turn number 6. Nice and easy move there for Jonathan. Puts himself into the final points paying position. Blizzard not able to close that gap, but remember he is on the hard compound tyres. Everyone else ahead in the top 8 that we're looking at right now are on the medium compound tyres, so they do have a grip advantage obviously at this moment in time. Blizzard trying to take this as long as possible with the expectancy of rain towards the end of the race. Dezo in the chat there, nice to see you coming along and tuning in, my friend. Hopefully we'll see you back on track soon. Saying that Danny struggles a bit with the ERS, which is an interesting part. I don't know if that's just him personally or in terms of the car, but he's certainly not showing it at the moment, being 1.6 clear. But Lee Finley's looking very racy, trying to get into the back of Tactician. He really closed up under brake in the last lap, up towards the through the parabolica, up towards turn number 6. And it'll be interesting to see if he fancies a move. We'll actually jump on board with the Scotsman as we come up towards turn 6, but he's not close enough, and you can see this train, this snaking train in multiple colours of cars. We actually got, what's that, 6 or 7 different cars in that picture. We've got a Williams, we've got Mercedes, McLaren, Racing Point, Ferrari, Alfa Romeo and Toro Rosso all in the one picture, as we see a Red Bull and a Ferrari pretty much stuck together there coming out of the turn 6 hairpin as Lewis manages to get through on Fabi up into an 11th position as he tries to see if he can get himself into the points. Lewis pretty much, I think, the only pad runner we have in the tier as well, which is mightily impressive in its own right if you ask me personally. But lap 9 of 34, still a long way to go, but Danny's looking good at the moment. But remember, we said that last week in the rain in Albert Park, and he kind of threw it all away with a pit stop.
Yeah, he did indeed, and decided to pit in to try and minimise the risk of a puncture towards the end, and it came back to bite him towards the end of that race. Threw away a win, still got a podium out of it though. However, that was not as many points as he wanted to score in the last race. He knew that was a perfect opportunity to try and close in, and it just didn't work out for him last time. And even worse, it would have handed the win to his championship rival, who had a bit of a quiet race, was running 4th for most of the time in Australia, but then came through to get the win of the race. And he said his tyres were in such poor condition towards the end, he genuinely thought they were going to puncture.
Yeah, I mean, I caught the glimpse on the stream. You would have seen it if you were watching. The rear tyres almost looked like slicks. He told us obviously they were about 85% wear, which the fact they never got a puncture is quite unbelievable in its own right. So he done really, really well and just took advantage of the situation that unfolded in front of him. Yeah, probably got a bit lucky in that one. Danny done all that he needed to do to win. Just an ill-timed pit stop dropped him down to what ended up being P3. So yeah, just shows you how quick things can change. Danny will hope to fight back here tonight. He's doing good at the moment. Now up to 2 seconds clear of his teammate in second as we go on to lap 11 of 34. So we've just reached around about 1/3 distance roughly in this race. And you can see it's still second down to 8th, and pretty big train, although Sven is just slowly starting to creep away from Tactician. We can just find another couple of times. Tactician will not have the DRS to the Williams, and then we might, just might, get a little bit of fun coming up towards turn number 6 with the cars behind. I mean, Lee Finley's in the middle of it. We know what happened in Japan. Anything can go on with him around.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just starting to notice that above the circuit, the clouds are starting to gather. There's still a little bit of sunlight trying to poke through the clouds, but if this rain is going to hit towards the end of this race, then them gathering right now is going to be a warning sign to the drivers. What that's going to mean is the track temperature in places is going to drop, meaning that it's going to be harder to keep the tyre temperatures in check, and that could promote graining if the drivers aren't careful. They've got to be aware of those tyre temperatures. They'll be crucial now.
Absolutely. Just someone asking in the chat, Callum Teasdale asking what happened to Casper and Onyx. Well, they decided to pit at the end of lap number 1. They both took a pit stop along with Domi and Surface, although Domi and Surface did have a bit of a collision. Now we've got pit stops of Vasta Racer and Liam Parnell into the pit lane, but that's why the bottom 4 are where they are. They pitted at the end of lap number 1, and I don't think it was due to damage. I think it was just because we are expecting rain later on in this race. They wanted to go into the hard compound tyre, run long. As you can see, Vasta Racer and Liam have both gone back onto another set of medium compound tyres, so they are expecting the rain. They'd have to pit again no matter what, and this is one of the tracks, if it had been dry, where you can sometimes pull a 2-stop strategy. It's not often, but it is possible.
It is possible, you're absolutely right, but what this means if they've both gone out onto the medium tyres, they're expecting the rain to hit around about lap 24 to 28, because that's all these tyres will really run up to. So they've got to hope that the rain not only just hits, but the track is damp enough for the intermediate tyres. If that's the strategy they're going to go for, it is a high-risk strategy, because of course, although that rain might hit, it might be okay for the slick tyres, especially if it hits in the final 5 laps of the race. A huge risk taken, but if it pays off, it's going to pay off big time.
Yeah, absolutely. It'll be interesting to see how that all pays off. A lot of people in the chat seem to think that Blizzard is in a really good position at the moment, sitting in 7th as Danny comes into the pits. His teammate carries on, as does the rest of the top 6. So Danny MG into pit lane. Here comes the Williams trundling down pit lane. 50 miles an hour. It seems so slow after he's been flying along at 200 on the outside. He goes for another set of medium compound tyres as well and back out into the race. And you can see he's going to come out behind Fabi and possibly even Speedstar maybe if he can not get up to speed, but no, he's just managed to close off the Haas, and that's very important indeed, because he's now got a car between him and the first stoppers, which were Vasta Racer and Liam Parnell, around about 3 seconds over him as well too. So that's worked out quite nicely for Danny. Even though he is in amongst a bit of traffic, he can still make that work. Tacticians closed that gap back up to Sven at the moment, as Lewis has managed to get by on Jonathan for what is currently 7th position. So coming up through the field on the hard compound tyres is the Red Bull. We'll come back to the front because we're expecting pit lane might be a little bit busy with 5 different cars possibly, and at the end of this lap Sven leads from Tactician and Lee Finley in 3rd, Sparks in 4th and Nolan in 5th position. Blizzards from the back of the field up in 6th position at the moment, and let's see if any of these guys decide to pit in this time round. No, the top 2 certainly don't, the top 3 don't, in fact none of them do, so they're carrying on a little bit longer into this race at the moment. Let's have a look at the gap at the moment between Sven and Danny. So it's about 13 seconds at the moment. It's a short pit lane here. It's not the biggest loss in the pits, even though you are going at 50 miles an hour. It is relatively short. So you would imagine Danny will still be in the lead if they were all to pit in time. But again, anything can happen. He's now in the traffic. He's right behind Fabi at the moment, and that's a train with Lewis and Jonathan up ahead as well. So Danny's got to pick himself through the field here. Purple in sector 1, and we jump on board with the Spaniard up towards turn 6. You can see the Ferrari just pulling out the slipstream there on the Renault, having a look to the inside. They've ghosted their way through each other. We'll ignore that. Lewis has ran wide. We're going to end up with about 3 wide here, and I've lost the session. Oh dear.
Well, I think it's going to have to be a traditional radio commentary for some time then, Andy, whilst we get you back in this lobby. But yeah, Welsh there still in 7th place with Jonathan, Danny and Fabi not too far behind. We'll see if we can get you back into this session, Andy. It's not a great race without you, mate. But looking like it, the pit window doesn't really close on this track until lap 15. So that's the solace that the front runners will be taking right now. We'll see when that pit window opens up in this race, but hopefully we can get you all back into this race and watching this one, because that rain's going to hit, and when it does hit, it's going to cause mayhem in this race. So let's hope we can do that.
I'm on my way back in there. Thankfully there was a spare invite there, so hopefully it doesn't happen again, because then we're going to be struggling. I think the the connection to the PlayStation just gave up because everything else is still running. So apologies for that, folks. I am on my way back in just now. Won't be too much longer and you'll be able to see the cars on track. In fact, there we go. We are back. So hopefully it stays that way for the rest of the race. Apologies there for that. Technical issues that I didn't even expect happening there. So really apologies for that one, but it happens. But nothing's really changed on track by the looks of it.
Well, apart from Danny just making light work of Fabi, Jonathan and Welsh, they didn't really put up a fight for him, and now he's up to 7th place. And with that light work means that he's not lost too much time trying to get his way through the traffic. So that will be a huge advantage to him. He's now 4.9 behind Blizzard, who's yet to stop, but he is on the hard set of tyres, so that might have to be an on-track overtake if he needs to. We're going to go on to lap 16 then. So as you can see, drivers are trying to extend this medium stint. Normally we would have seen them in by now according to the predicted race strategy, but drivers here looking ominously at the rain. Maybe Jeff is telling them something that we're not obviously receiving, Andy. Maybe they're expecting the rain to hit imminently.
Maybe it could be. I mean, thankfully I've got the timings back up as well now because they had disappeared too. So we've got everything slowly coming back as they cross the line, which is fantastic to see. And we now have pictures back on our screen once more. But yeah, they are really trying to extend this, which would make you think, as you say, maybe they're expecting the rain to come sooner than the last few laps. They are running these mediums as far as they can do, and it is just ever so slightly getting darker once again out on track. Certain points of the track, it looks extremely dark. So if this works and the rain does come earlier, these guys in the top 5 could be looking very good. In fact, even up to Blizzard in 6 as well, who's on the hard compound tyres, remember, so he can go a lot longer into this race. They could be looking good at the moment. Danny has got himself through Lewis, Fabi and Jonathan, which is a shame that he had to cut out at that point, so that would have been brilliant to see him making quick work of those guys on the fresh compounded tyre, but unfortunately we didn't. I see rain on the screen, so yes, it spits the rain now. Oh, here we go. It's going to get interesting very, very quickly, and it looks like the top 6 might have just played this to perfection, maybe.
Maybe indeed, and that's going to be a huge call for Danny to make. He's got to turn that engine up, he's got to turn that ERS up as well, and just try and make the use of these fresh medium tyres as much as he possibly can. DRS, of course, is still online. Tactician is trying to close in on Sven. He's closing in at a rate of knots, moves to the right-hand side towards the hairpin. He's up the inside now, and even with that rain falling, it does not hamper with the stopping distance there. Tactician, the Finnish Mercedes driver, now moves into the lead of the race, and just behind them, Lambert got away past Sparks. He's now up to P4, and Sven then falls to P2. Now he's under threat from Finley behind the Scotsman, and now what do the Williams team play? Some fresh medium tyres. They've got Sven here, who is out on the old set of medium tyres, but the rain is falling onto the track. I wonder how long it's going to take for the track to really warrant the intermediate tyres.
Yeah, absolutely. That's why these guys now have to just push the tyres as far as they can now. There's no point in pitting at the moment. Danny should be okay for grip because those tyres are new. He will, as long as you keep the temperature in them, he will still get a good bit of purchase despite the greasy track that's starting to come along. And you can see he's closing up to Blizzard pretty quickly as well. In the background, Fabi heads for pit lane as Blizzard gets a time penalty through turn number 1 there. I'm interested to see what the Ferrari driver does because it looks really heavier in pit lane as well, and it's intermediate tyres for the Ferrari driver, so that'll be interesting to see. We'll just follow him out of pit lane now unless there's someone going to make a move. Need to go back to Sven. Actually, he's getting awfully close to the back of Tactician but doesn't get anything to be able to get the move done. I kind of want to follow Fabi a little bit just to see how that car's handling on these first couple of laps, because if he's timed it perfectly he'll get the grip. If he's not, the tyres just will not give any purchase at the moment. He's really tiptoeing around. We'll need to keep an eye on his lap times. He's just gone through sector 1. I'd love to follow him through to sector 2, so I'll try to. Nobody's really making a move at the moment, so let's just follow the Ferrari driver now and we'll keep an eye. We've got the telemetry in the top right hand corner and we'll wait and see what happens when he comes through sector 2 and see what the time is, see if he's, you know, doing how he's doing, because he was quite a bit down in the first one. But that was because he was just out of pit lane. Looks not too bad at the moment. Sven is into pit lane, so is Nolan as well, and Sparks. So here we go. just gets it slowed down to the pit lane speed limiter just in the nick of time, and that means Danny's got to go and do another lap unless he wants to stack up as well, so he's got no choice but to carry on. So there is your championship leader, there's the Toro Rosso in behind, intermediates all round, and away they go. Back out in order, Blizzard's pitted as well, as has Jonathan Lewis, Speedstat and Liam Parnell, so plenty of pit stops going on. Liam and Vasta Racer are probably going to be the biggest losers out of this because they pitted earlier and they dropped down the field. Now they're going to have to pit again as the rain comes sooner than was expected. Meanwhile up the front you can just see there as we came to it, Lee Finlay just getting a bit sideways on the exit of turn 6. That track is extremely slippy, and these tyres, remember, are about, what, 18 laps old. Speedstar and Fabi. Speedstar's just out the pit lane. They're having a fight coming through the first few turns there. You can see Onyx, Dommy, Gamer surfacing the pits. DRS disabled, and Fabi giving Speedstar a bit of a bump there down the straight. Now I did see a bit of lag earlier on with the Ferrari, so it might just be that. It's just the way it looks on the screen. Speedstar gets it nicely slowed down into turn 6. Can he get the traction up to turn 7? He does indeed, and he's finally got that move. Now when do these get? They've got to pit this lap, surely.
They have to. It's the crossover period. As Tactician, comes into the pit, so too does Finlay. Danny will be absolutely furious with that move, but he's now coming into the pits on 6-lap-old medium tyres. Just a little bit of a tail out there in towards the pit lane. So what that should do is Sven should have got this crossover period absolutely spot on. But as you say, Andy, it is a short pit lane. Let's see how that affects the drivers around him. So Tactician then is passed in the pit lane. Sven takes the race lead. Nolan is now up to 2nd place there. He timed that to perfection. Sparks is up to 3rd. Tactician rejoins on circuit. He's in 4th place. Blizzard is up to 5th. Finlay rejoins just behind his teammate in 6th place there. So he's lost a mountain of time to be behind his teammate now. Danny rejoins in 7th place. Welch is up to 8th place now. Parnell in 9th. Jonathan rounding out the top 10. But big moves up the grid there for Lambert and Sparks, who timed that to perfection.
Yeah, Nolan's worked really well. He came in the same lap as did Sparks along with Sven, and it seemed to be that lap, the lap after Fabi and the lap before everyone else, was the perfect point for it. Just before, because they came out of pit lane, got up and through turn 6, and then the DRS got disabled, which is usually a really good sign that that crossover point has came. You can see the spray off the back of the cars now. So we've got 14 laps, well 14 and a half, including the one we're on as well. We are beyond the halfway distance point here at Hockenheim for Apex Online Racing's Hype Energy F1 Leagues. This is the PlayStation 4 top tier that you're watching just now. Thank you very much for joining us once again this Sunday evening, and it'll be interesting to see. But Sven, just like last week, his teammate has done something different on the strategy, and so far it's not paid off again.
No, it hasn't, and it might be one of those things where they've read the strategy, they've read the weather report and expected the rain later in the race. It's caught me out like that before, and I can guarantee you it will not be the last time it catches me out. But yeah, that's the only problem, is predicting when the rain will actually arrive. And unfortunately for Danny, he thought he had more time on his hands before the rain hit, and now he finds himself in 7th place with all of it to do with his championship rival Sven leading the race.
Absolutely, and as someone's pointed out, as Dezo's pointed out in the chat, which is a good point, Sparks is usually pretty good in these conditions actually. Seen last week he took P2 with a very good drive. He took pole position in Belgium in rainy conditions as well, so we need to keep an eye on the Alfa Romeo driver. He's 1.5 seconds behind Nolan at the moment, so keep an eye on that gap, see how that one goes. Blizzard though, he's got a 3-second time penalty unfortunately. He picked up earlier on in the race, but he's looking extremely racy on the back of Tactician. He's actually bumped him through turn 8 through the Mercedes grandstand section as Vasta Racer has just passed Liam Parnell up into turn number 6 down the field in what is 10th position. Vasta Racer was up towards the front in that pack as well and just dropped down the field doing the same thing as Danny did. Same with Liam too. They both came in early and the rain came a lot sooner than they expected. Blizzard though, from 18th on the grid up to 5th, even though with the 3-second penalty he's got at the moment. That's a fantastic drive so far, and he's on for a good haul of points.
Yeah, it's not bad, is it, as he looks to try and take a podium this time around. He finished, I believe that was 5th last time around, but the previous 2 or 3 races, 2 podiums there, one at Japan and the other at Italy. So he's looking to try and get back onto the podium once again. He's got Tactician ahead of him, but ahead of him there, Sparks and Lambert, who, well, without a shadow of a doubt, got that wet tyre call absolutely spot on, and they've got themselves now onto those podium positions. Right now then, Sven is scoring the full 25 points, but Danny's only scoring 6. That means this championship rivalry could extend by 19 points by my calculations, which are probably wrong. That means it could be more than 30 points before the next race.
It could be indeed, absolutely. Look at this, is Blizzard now. Lovely helicopter drone shot into turn number 8. He's got up the inside. He's seen a little bit of stuttering there with the connections, but Blizzard makes a nice move into P4, and that's good for him. And I was just looking at the championship standings. Blizzard came into this one in 5th position on 63 points. The next driver ahead of him, Casper, 18 points up ahead. Casper is down in 14th position, so Blizzard, if he can just avoid picking up any more penalties, could close the gap and bring himself back into some sort of play for the top spots in the championship. The top 2 might be a little bit too far, but he can certainly bring himself into play for 3rd place as we get to the end of the season. Lap 23 of 34, 11 laps to go, and it is Sven who's pulling away out in front. 2.3 seconds clear of Nolan in 2nd at the moment in the Toro Rosso, who's having a lovely race just now. Sparks in 3rd, he's stabilised that gap at 1.5 seconds to the Toro Rosso. He's now got Blizzard behind him in 4th, who's already pulled a 2nd clear of Tactician in 5th. The Finnish driver still having his best race of the season so far as well, though. His best result so far has been 7th place, which was at the Italian Grand Prix, so it's much better this time round for the Mercedes driver, and his teammate Casper down in 14th, 8 seconds off of anyone else, picks up a 3-second time penalty. It's another week. Casper having a bit of a nightmare. We've seen it in Bahrain when he spun, we've seen it in Italy as he spun as well, as Fabian Speedster pick up their fight for what is 12th and 13th again. Lights out round number 6, I think this is. They've been pretty much glued together since the pit stop phase, but Speedstar still holds on at the moment. But it's another week as Speedstar runs wide. So Speedstar wide, that allows Fabi through. Nice and easy move there for him, and up into 12th position. I was just about to say though, with Casper, he only qualified 10th. That was not what I was expecting at all. And it's another week. It's 3 rounds if you take in Italy and Bahrain, where it be mistakes of his own or just getting in the wrong place at the wrong time, where things have gone wrong as he gets really wide into the stadium section there. But what's going on? It's not the kind of pace we expect from him.
No, it's not, and sometimes it can be a snowball effect. If you have one bad race, then it can affect your confidence and your form going into the next ones. The thing he needs now is the drive of his life, really, to get a good result on the board, to come away from the race saying, yes, I earned that result, I'm really happy with that, and there wasn't a lot more I could have done. You need one of those races to get yourself back on track. Finley, meanwhile, looking ominously at the back of Tactician. He's looking to send it up the inside in towards the hairpin there. Tactician leaves him the space, but he knows he's on the outside, so he'll be able to get the traction down out of the hairpin. And look at that then, 3/10 up the road already then for the Mercedes driver. His Tactician looks to try and hold on to 5th place right now. Finley, though, is looking to try and find that way through. I think as well, he'll be a little bit frustrated because Blizzard there, starting from P18, now up to P4. It's been a heck of a drive for the British driver there in the McLaren. Now he's only 7/10 away from a possible podium if you ignore the fact that he's got a 3-second time penalty to serve at the end of the race.
Absolutely, indeed, and Lee Finlay obviously making that move there, trying to make that move as it was. He had Tactician up ahead, the Finnish driver seen him, and Tactician's one of the more wary characters in my opinion. He knows when things are going on, he seems to read things out on track pretty well in my opinion. Gave the space to the McLaren, knowing it was slippy, knowing he could still get the power down out the corner and hold the position, but Blizzard is now within less than a second off Sparks, and as you say, a possible podium position. He's still only 1.5 seconds up to Nolan's Toro Rosso up ahead, and Sven is nearly 3 seconds clear as we have a look at the drone helicopter camera as you go through the curve of turn 5, the parabolic as it's called, up towards turn number 6. Getting nicely on the brakes, no lock-ups on the way in, and Blizzard looking pretty good at the moment out on track. And from the back of the grid, we do not know what happened in qualifying to him. He qualified last, he was up to P10 by the end of lap 1 I think it was. He had an absolute stonker of a first lap, and now timed it well, hard compound tyres onto the intermediates, 1 stop. He's now in P4 fighting for a podium, and what could be his 3rd podium of the season if he can negate that penalty that he picked up earlier on in the race.
Absolutely, and he's got Sparks right ahead of him. Then he's got to pull that 3-second gap. There could be the opportunity to close in on Lambert as well. So not out of this one at all as Sven crosses the line to start lap 26. We have 10 laps to go, if I'm right there, or 9 laps to go even, of the German Grand Prix. And I think the rain's getting slightly heavier out there, Andy.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll tell you one thing as well though, look behind Lee Finlay. Danny MG's closing back up as well now, so Spaniard trying to bring himself back into contention. The rain does seem heavier and it makes you wonder, could we end up with a crossover point into full wet tyres? I mean, people in the chat are talking about whether it will be, whether it won't be, some thinking it will, some thinking it won't. If it does happen, Speedster's gone for wet, so he's decided it's enough. He's got nothing to lose down in 14th at the moment. Might as well try a little gamble, see if it works, maybe get some points out of it. But we'll keep an eye here. The closest battle I would say is this one, Tactician. Lee Finlay, Danny MG, and Danny just, the time again, just like last week in Australia, leading quite comfortably. He was nearly 3 seconds clear when he made that pit stop, decided to pit early, and well, the rain came at the wrong time and it's dropped him down the field, so he's trying to make his way back through to minimise what could be the possible points loss at the moment. I need to come away from that freeway fight at the moment because Blizzard is right on the back of Sparks up into the Sachs curve there, so this is getting really close. The Scotsman ahead of the British driver, the Alfa Romeo ahead of the McLaren. But Blizzard's looking very feisty indeed, so while one McLaren tries to get by the Alfa Romeo, Lee Finlay is trying to get by a Mercedes. At the same time he's trying to get, well, I was about to say defend from a Williams, but Danny has decided to make another pit stop. This is his 3rd pit stop of the race, and it's got to surely be for wet tyres. Now, has he timed this one right though? That will be an interesting point, might just bring him back into it.
Well, the 2 previous drivers that came in on the wet tyres, Speedster and Gamer, have been consistently losing time over their stint. So it's a big gamble there for Danny. Fabi is also into the pits on wet tyres, leaving the pit lane now. But this is a big call for Danny. This could make or break his championship chances. This could be a race that decides it, and he's decided now for the last 8 laps to go for it on wet tyres. Let's see if the gamble pays off.
Absolutely. Meanwhile, just coming out of turn number 6, caught it in the background, Lee Finlay. He's now on the outside. The Tactician swoops round through turn number 7, and the Scotsman's finally ahead of the Finnish driver up into what is P5. Can he now chase his teammate down, who's still trying to get by Lee's compatriot Sparks for what is the final podium position at the moment? Nolan up ahead though, looking good for his first podium of the season, and it would definitely be well deserved as well. He's been driving really good in these last couple of races and making some good moves through the field, keeping it nice and tidy. Sparks though is pretty good in these conditions, but Blizzard has really got the bit between his teeth here. We'll keep an eye on Danny. He's 1.5 seconds behind Casper at the moment. Casper still on intermediates, Danny on wet tyres, so we'll keep an eye on that and we'll see. You can see it just jumped to 1.9, but we'll give it a bit of time to calm down because they are at different points of the track, so we'll wait and see how that one balances out while we watch Blizzard try again to get by the Alfa Romeo ahead of him.
Well, he's in the slipstream right now as we head through Parabolica with a K, of course, as we make our way now on towards the hairpin here. You can see he's in the slipstream. Will he go for a move down the inside? You bet he will. Up the inside he goes, in towards the hairpin. Can he slow that car down in time? He's got the exit there, but gets a little bit of a wheel spin on the exit there, and Sparks goes straight back through. Ambitious effort there from Blizzard. He probably would have made that move stick had the rear tyres not just let him down there by spinning up. And for Sparks there, he had the traction. He's got a little bit wayward there as we headed through turns 8, 9, 10 and 11 there. But Blizzard is still behind Sparks. He knows he has to get past the Alfa Romeo ahead and then build a 3-second gap if he wants this podium.
Absolutely, and I think wets are the wrong thing, because look at that gap between Danny and Casper. It was about 2 seconds. It's already gone up to 4.5 seconds, and Casper's on 9-lap old intermediate, so they're not the healthiest. They've done a few trips around, and Danny's just losing hand over fist at the moment in terms of time. At the moment, the Spaniard from pole position and looking like he might go away and win again, might not end up with any points at all here tonight. It's been a disastrous last couple of races between Australia and here for the Spaniard, and he's losing ground. You can see Onyx has just gone by. Fabi's back in fact, Fabi is off. I think there's a yellow flag in sector 3, and it is the Ferrari driver in the grass at the stadium section, so unsure if that was due to contact or if he just lost it. Seems to be struggling on those wet compound tyres, as you see there. The Speedster flying by as well, and up to the front though. Blizzard has sneaked up the inside. I was trying to get to it, there, so apologies for just catching the end of it and no more, but Blizzard finally got that move done in Spark. So can he pull a 3-second gap in the final 5.5 laps?
Yeah, Blizzard there, pretty much a carbon copy of the previous move there, except this time he didn't get any wheel spin on the exit out of turn 6, so he's able to make that move stick there. Meanwhile, Lewis Welsh, I should say, round the outside at turn 7 got that move done. He's now up to 6th place ahead of Tactician, and now looks on ahead at Lee Finley in 5th place there. But meanwhile, Sven rounds the final corner.
Sparks and Blizzard are both off the track, and well, I've had another disconnection. That's why it was. No. Oh dear, you'll need to do radio commentary. Sorry guys.
I will indeed. Not a problem.
Not a good thing.
Well, lap 30 then of this Grand Prix. Sven leads by 3 seconds ahead of Lambert. Blizzard then in 3rd place now, 3.6 seconds behind Lambert, but he's now 0.8 of a second ahead of Sparks. Lee Finley 4.8 behind Sparks, with Welsh just under 1 second behind. Tactician is not letting Welsh go away, but he's 0.8 down right now. Jonathan is in 8th place with Vasta Racer 9th, Parnell in 10th, with Casper in 11th. Danny has lost a ton of time on these wet tyres and losing even more time. He's now 8 seconds back on Casper there. Onyx in 13th, Dommy in 14th, Speedster in 15th place, also on the wet weather tyres. But the wet weather tyres just seem like they're not getting any temperature. He's really struggling through the final 2 corners of the track here. It's just almost like they're too cold. They're not working. They're not in operating temperature range, so that they can't give these drivers the grip that they are looking for. Sven still leading the way though, but Nolan has taken just a couple of tenths of a second out of the gap between them at this moment in time. But Welsh really looking on to try and get this position. He's now 5 tenths behind Lee Finley as they make their way in towards turn 12 and on towards Sachs Curve for the 30th time this race. Half a second is the gap between himself and Lee Finley. Can Lewis try and get this move done then? He started from P17, did the Red Bull driver. He's up to 6th place currently as he's just looking at the back of the McLaren here. The rain is absolutely atrocious at this moment in time, but it looks like the intermediate tyres are still the tyres to be on, as those drivers on the wet tyres are just losing so much time. Just to put into context, Danny is now 9.7 behind Casper, and it's not even been a lap at this moment in time. So it's really, really not the time for wet weather tyres. So the drivers are now trying to think and trying to get these intermediate tyres to the end, because there's now no point to go onto the wet tyres. It's just way too late. You're going to lose so much time. You'll never gain it back. Welsh, meanwhile, then on the back of Finley, then 2 tenths back as we head towards the hairpin. He thinks about a move to the right-hand side, but then tucks back in the braking zone and stays behind the McLaren there as we make our way now out of the hairpin. Both cars getting a good exit there in these treacherous conditions. Tactician 1.7 seconds behind, but on the exit of the hairpin now is 2.1 behind. He's got to be careful of Jonathan, who is now under a second behind Tactician as we make our way in towards 8, 9, 10, 11 and 12. How there are 4 corners through there is beyond me, but answers on a postcard please. Welsh here still on the back of Finley as we make our way through turn 12. This rain is not holding up whatsoever in towards Sachs Curve. That little bit of banking towards the apex of the corner can help the grip there, but it's also where the standing water can also gather if you're not careful. And I'm guessing, Andy, we're now live back with pictures.
Yes, apologies for that. So I don't know what's happening. Basically, I'm getting kicked out of PlayStation Network, so I think the PSN's playing up again. Blizzard with another penalty, which is not going to help his podium, so Spark's pretty much going to be on the podium. Apologies again, connection just not wanting to play ball there, and it's PSN, it's kicking me out of the network altogether rather than the game. So apologies for that. Hopefully we'll be here for the last couple of laps now without any issue. Thank you very much, Kieran, for doing the radio rental commentary there. Appreciate it.
No problem at all. I expect the money in the post. Meanwhile, Welsh here is on the back of Lee Finley as we make our way through Parabolica. He moves to the right-hand side now, going down towards the hairpin on the inside. Has he got this move done? Will he have the traction? And can he slow that car down in time? They're going to be side by side on the exit, but Welsh gets the move done. He gets the traction as well and moves up to 5th place with Finley moving down down to 6th place with only 3 laps, 2 and a bit if you're picky.
Yeah, absolutely. So Lewis coming through the field, I mean, he's moved up 12 positions. Him and Blizzard have really came through the field. Blizzard up 15 positions, probably going to be 14 after penalties. Lewis up 12, although I do think he's got at least one 3-second penalty as well, so he'll need to try and pull away if he wants to keep that 5th position. And then the other big gainer is Jonathan, up 7 positions into 8th. But wow, what a race this has been. Sven looking good at the moment, 2.5 seconds clear of Nolan Lambert up front, and this man, well, Danny MG, what could have been? Another absolute disaster for the Spaniard, and it's going to cost him 25 points to his teammate and championship rival, the championship leader, which is Williams Jim Sven. That means the gap is going to be 38 points between Sven and Danny alone. That's a huge gap with only 3 or 4 rounds to go.
It is, and you know what? The rain's eased off. It's now just light rain, so that is not the news they wanted to hear there for Danny and Speedster. The risk has not received the reward at all, and it looks like they're going for nil points in this race. Just to have a look at the fastest lap of the race, well, that is currently with Speedster, and of course in these wet weather conditions we're not going to see that change very likely. 1:13.3 from Speedster, but he is outside of the top 10, so once again in an Apex Online Racing PS4 F1 race, Andy, it looks like we're going to have no fastest lap bonus point.
Yeah, this is quite a common theme from last season as well, where people outside the top 10 would come in and put on a sort of soft compound tyres for the last couple of laps just to go and get the fastest lap. So it's something we do see quite often, and at the moment, yeah, that's definitely going to happen. Onyx, speaking to him, he's just gone by Danny, who's struggling on those wet compound tyres. Now, after doing the earlier stops and having come in a second time, Danny just losing out to Domi there as well, just to show how much pace he's struggling with. I'm not surprised he went for it. He really did have to try something different. Sparks with a 3-second time penalty as well now, and he's 3 seconds behind Blizzard. So Blizzard might hold on to this podium at the end of the race, but I understand why Danny went for it in some sense. He had already dropped out, he needed to try something different, but it did not work out. Meanwhile, you can see Nolan is coming up here. He's got the Alfa Romeo, which is of Gamer, which is ghosting, so he's actually not in control of that car just now. And Blizzard is closing in on Nolan as well, so another couple of laps, that McLaren might just have got ahead of the Toro Rosso, but it's not going to mean very much because the last lap of the race, and we got a yellow flag somewhere in sector 2, it's disappeared.
I think it is Gamer. He's in control of that car, but of course lap cars ghost, so that's probably why. He's just pulled off to the left-hand side to let cars through. But Sven here now making his way through the 3rd and final sector on this final lap in front of his home crowd. Looks like win number 4, Andy.
Absolutely, your championship leader through the final, a couple of the corners, and again it's one where he wasn't leading the whole way through, but he's picked the strategy perfectly. It's a home victory, and it is Williams Jim Sven who wins the German Grand Prix. Fantastic drive from him. Brilliant stuff. Nolan in second. Blizzard does hold on from last to 3rd. There's a challenge in its own. Well done to him. Definitely driver of the race. Sparks with another solid result in 4th. Lee Finley takes 5th on penalties with Lewis dropping down to 6th. Tactician in 7th, equaling his best result of the season. Jonathan in 8th. Vasta Racer in 9th. Liam takes 10th position. Casper, a horrible weekend for the Dutchman, down in 11th. Onyx is going to cross the line in 12th position in just a moment's time. We've seen him a few times having a bit of a battle with Fabi, but only 12th position. Domi on what is his debut race this season, he takes 12th because Onyx had a penalty. And this man, Danny MG, my oh my oh my, what could have been. What a disaster of a race. Here comes Surface, he's going to be in 15th, and Speedster will be the last one across the line in 16th position. But what a race. That was a complete turn up for the books. We were not quite expecting that. The rain came much sooner than we were predicted. But is that man Wee's 4th victory of the season and extending his championship lead. It is Williams Jim Sven who wins here at Hockenheim.
A great drive from Sven, kept his cool when it needed most, and he's earned his 4th race win of the championship and ever extends his lead now by 25 points over his closest rival and his teammate. Well, what a season it could be for Sven here this season, but one thing's for sure, it ain't over till it's over, but a 4th win of the season for Sven.
Yeah, fantastic stuff from the German and a home victory as well. He'll be extremely happy with that. But big props to Nolan on his first podium of the season as well. Some good racing from him. But Blizzard, got to be driver of the day surely. 18th and last on the grid through to third position. You see Danny's left the session already. I do not think the Spaniard will be very happy at all. But it's now time for Mr. McGinley's favourite part of the night.
Absolutely. It is the official, unofficial results with Sven taking top spot, Nolan in second with Blizzard in third from 18th on the grid, Sparks in fourth with Finley in fifth, Welsh in sixth with Tactician seventh, equaling his best result of the season, Jonathan in eighth, Faster Racer ninth, and Parnell rounds out the top 10. Casper, a no points race for him in 11th place, Domi in 12th on his debut, Onyx in 13th, Danny down in 14th there with a wet weather strategy that just did not pay off, Surface in 15th, Speedster 16th, Fabi in 17th, and Gamer rounds out the finishes here. Every driver who started this race finished it, and no safety cars at all whatsoever in this race.
Yeah, absolutely, and a few drivers, Sven, Nolan, Lee Finley, Domi down the field as well, and I think there might have been one other with no penalties at all. Danny was the other one, there we go. So a few drivers didn't get penalties. Most of the field picked up at least 3 seconds. There was no driver out there tonight that picked up enough penalties to send them to the next round in China next week, which is a good thing to see. But but it's another really interesting race that we've seen there, and another fantastic result from Sven. He's really now put himself into pole position to win this championship. We'll hopefully be able to get a wee chat with the top 3 very shortly indeed. It'll be interesting to hear what Sven's got to say about this one. You know, obviously last week Danny's pit strategy kind of handed him the victory, and then in one sense Danny doing what he did tonight has almost kind of done it again. But Sven kept it on the track, kept it on the island. He done what he needed to do. It's an extension of the championship lead. It's going to be hard to overcome that now with 4 races left.
Yeah, and especially with your main championship rival not scoring points whatsoever. And the gap now goes from, as you say, 13 points to 38, I believe that was. So it is just an even tougher ordeal now for Danny in the grand scheme of things. He's really got to be showing up to the last, I believe it's 4 races to go now in the season. Yep. So that means realistically 104 points left to score in the championship.
Absolutely. We've got 4 rounds. Well, there's 3 rounds left properly, but obviously we're going to be back next week when it's normally the break week for China. So you'll be able to see it on the screen just now. The other 3 races are Canada, Austria and Brazil, which are 3 fantastic tracks in my opinion for league racing, and Brazil especially is bound to be absolutely beautiful because it is always some brilliant races around the Interlagos track. But we're just going to jump over into the from the commentary box into the interview box to wait on the drivers, and there we go. But really interesting race once again. The rain one more time making things very interesting indeed. You can't give the driver a race to anyone other than Blizzard, surely.
Yeah, I mean, what a drive it was. I mean, he was the only driver at the end of qualifying that actually tried and attempted a strategy that started with the hard tyres. And of course, that put him 1.2 seconds off the pole position time. But he really did pull it back in the race. Those hard tyres were pretty much the great call that he needed. And it got him onto the podium here for the 3rd time this season. And not only that, but we were saying, Andy, that he's got to extend this lead by 6 seconds or whatever. And he managed to secure the podium by just over 1/10 of a second. That must have been close. He must have been so nervous at getting to the end of that race on that penalty basis. But you know what? He'll be thrilled with that one. He'll absolutely have loved that one. And it's so good when you go for a strategy and it just plans out perfectly in your head, and then it plans out perfectly in the race. There's no better feeling.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's been an absolute delight to watch him come through that first lap. We didn't see much of it because of everything going on through the field, but he made up 9 places in the first lap, so an absolutely stellar lap. We do have the race winner in the lobby. We're just going to give it another wee moment to see if we can get Nolan and possibly Blizzard in as well. I know Blizzard knows where to come for this, so hopefully Nolan knows where to go as well. I'm just going to drop them a wee message too. There is Blizzard. So since we've got 2 guys here, we've got the 1st place driver and the 3rd place driver, let's hand it over to Kieran McGinley for the post-race interviews.
Yes, the favourite part of the stream where Andy works out the points of the championship, and you're all not supposed to know that. Anyway, we now move on to the driver interviews. Of course, we have, first of all, our race winner for today in the German Grand Prix in front of his home fans. It is, of course, Sven, who extends his lead in the championship. 4th race win of the season 2. Sven, good to have you along with us. Are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Perfect. Well, a bit of a hectic Grand Prix for you. It's the second race in a row that rain starts to affect the end of the race. But how did you feel that one went?
Yeah, of course, pretty good for me. It was a risky strategy, and not everyone was doing that, but the ones who did the strategy, it really paid off for them. I mean,
Yeah.
it would have been better to start on the hard tires and go to the inters, which a lot of people in the points did. But for me, it was no option because I started on the medium tires. So yeah, I really had to be careful on those tires.
Yeah, and of course the pit window for the medium tyres in normal circumstances is around lap 10 to 15, and you tried to take them 17 laps, so they must not have been in the greatest nick when you got them into the pit lane at last.
Yeah, exactly.
Just talk us through that sort of crossover, because of course you're on used tyres. You seem to start to struggle a little bit, especially losing positions as well. How are you coping with those conditions?
Yeah, it was very, yeah, not easy, definitely, because Jeff, the radio manager, always said it's like 5 to 10 minutes to the rain, and then it was like 5 minutes. We were already at lap 14, and I really wasn't sure if I could make it until the crossovers there. And right at the end, it was very hard with these tires, but as soon as the rain came down, I saw that it was very heavy, and it really started to begin to get wet very, very fast. So yeah, definitely worth staying out.
Yeah, and of course, it got to a moment in that race where it was absolutely chucking it down. Some drivers went onto the wet tyres, more importantly, your championship rival, but he lost a mountain of time. Did you notice any difference in the sort of track condition towards the end of the race there?
Yeah, the radio manager also said it was heavy rain, but he also always said that the intermediates are a little bit faster than the wet tires. So I was sure that the inters were the best tires at that moment. So I'm not really sure why they all went on the wet tires.
Yeah, and also your championship rival as well. Obviously, it gets to a point in the season where the two teammates might stop sharing data, might stop sharing strategies. Has that happened in the Williams garage yet?
I mean, not yet, but I think he's actually pretty disappointed after the last two races because he was right at the front at the beginning of the race and he was the fastest at the beginning of both races, but both times he struggled to do the right strategy, and yeah, it's a shame. I would love to battle with him for the win, but it is how it is.
And this is your fourth race win of the season. Unofficially, you are 38 points clear of your nearest rival. How do you feel going into the final four races of the season?
I mean, that's a perfect situation for me. But yeah, it's, it's still a long way to go. It's 4 races and everything can happen. So I won't take it easy. I want to win as many races as I can. But it's definitely a good situation for me right now. I'm very happy with it.
And next round of the season will, of course, normally be a break week for the drivers, but we're actually heading to China for the rerun. How are you feeling about that one this time around?
Yeah, we already practiced for that. I think it was 2 weeks ago. But sadly, this race couldn't take place. So yeah, we all we already have a setup and things like that, so should be good, and we don't need that much time to get used to the track again.
Yeah, and let's hope it's not three races in a row where the rain hits at the end of the race. But you seem to be really good at calling the conditions in those scenarios. Has that really helped you to build this momentum?
Yeah, definitely. The last two races, especially, but also races like Belgium, where it rained at the end. I really held my head down, and it really paid off. Yeah, every decision I made was the right one until this point of the season.
And heading into the last few rounds of the season, do you see yourself adding any more wins to that tally?
I hope so.
That's always a good answer. But Sven, thank you very much for talking to us. Congratulations on winning your home race, fourth race win of the
Thank you.
season. We'll look forward to seeing you at China.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. See you there.
Take care. And in the chat as well, we also have the third place driver in that race, starting from 18th on the grid, back of the field. It is Blizzard. Blizzard, that was one heck of a race. Just talk us through that.
You'll probably be surprised, but it was actually my plan to start outside the top 10 because I knew the rain was coming.
That's what they all say, you see.
And I thought it was going to come later, so I thought I would be in the net lead. since I took since I got since I was the highest up on hard tyres, but they managed to make the mediums. A couple of them managed to make the mediums last to the rain, which I was surprised about. And then it was just about trying to gain as much as possible from the materials I had, and I think I did get as high as I possibly could, to be honest, because I don't think I would have caught Nolan by the end.
Yeah, and you had those 6 seconds worth of time penalties at the end. It must have been a bit hectic towards the last few laps, especially trying to get past cars ahead. Were you trying to keep your cool demeanor at that point?
Yes, I was.
That's a good answer. Were you tempted towards the end of the race there to think about the wet weather tyres, or were you not willing to sacrifice your position at the end there?
I was not thinking about them at all, to be honest. I barely noticed a difference in the conditions. So.
Well, as well as that, I believe it's your third podium this season. Your last podium, I believe, was, correct me if I'm wrong, Italy. So it must be a good feeling to be back up on the third step of the podium.
Yeah, it was probably my best podium, definitely this season as well. So it's a really good feeling.
We head to China next as well. Obviously, it's a rerun, so you get to pretty much, as Sven said, pick up where you left off in terms of practice. But what's your confidence levels like there?
What?
How confident are you going into the Chinese Grand Prix this time around?
Not at all. I when I practiced for it last time, I was just not fast at all. So, yeah, maybe scraping top 10, I would hope. For.
So I'm guessing you're wishing there was some rain in the race. Then would that help you out, or would that hinder you?
I think that'll help me out a lot, to be honest. I like my rain pace this season. It's been really good. So I think it'll be good if it rains.
Yeah, and we're heading towards the winding down now part of the season. 4 races to go. Where do you see yourself finishing this season, and how would you rate your season so far?
I think I've done better than I expected for this season. So I guess like a 7 out of 10. What position am I in this championship right now?
That's something to ask Andy towards the end there. But yeah, Andy doesn't rely on me for the maths anymore, for good reason. I've proved it my track record. But in terms of that, it's a solid 15 points unofficially added to your title, but added to your points, sorry. But yeah, it has been a solid season. Any particular highlights and lowlights so far?
I don't really have a good memory, so I can't remember much. But I think it was Japan, my first podium. That was probably the highest because I don't think my pace was too good. And then I did get the podium, and I was really happy after the race with that. That was probably my most, that probably gave me the most motivation for the remainder of the season that I've done so far.
Well, hopefully you keep that momentum on for the last few rounds of the season. Congratulations on your podium today, Blizzard, and we'll look forward to seeing you in China.
Thanks.
And looks like the interview box is pretty much empty now, Andy, unfortunately, so I'll hand it back to you.
Thank you very much. Exemplary as always, my friend. Shame we couldn't get Nolan in here. Maybe he got lost on the way somehow, but he did have a fantastic second place, so congratulations to him. Before we head off, I have crunched the numbers and done the maths. So here are the unofficial official championship standings, subject to any stewards' reviews. I'll obviously put them up on screen next week. Sven's still in the lead of the championship. He's now on 136 points. Danny still on 98 points in second, so it is a 38-point gap in the championship. It's going to be, even with 4 rounds left, if Sven can just keep in the points, that's going to be a hard one for Danny to pull back. Vasta Racer is still in third on 84 points. Casper still in fourth on 81. Blizzard stays in fifth, but he's now only 3 points behind Casper, now up to 78. Sparks on 66. Lewis on 36 and 7th. Lee Finley jumps up to 8th on 34 points. Prene is down to 9th on 27. And then a tie for 10th with Onyx, who started this tonight in 10th on 22 points. But Nolan, with that P2, 2022 tonight has jumped 7 places in the championship standings. He's now on 22 points, having started tonight on just 4. So it shows you how quick things can change down the field. In the Constructors' Championship, Williams move on to 234 points. They're now their nearest rivals on 112 points are now McLaren, who jumped 2 places ahead of both Racing Point and Mercedes. McLaren on 112, Racing Point just a point behind on 111, and Mercedes on 97. Toro Rosso move up to 5th on 72, Alfa Romeo down to 6th on 68, Red Bull stay in 7th on 45, Renault move up to 8th on 24, Haas on 23 down to 9th, and Ferrari still in 10th position now on 11 points, which means that when I'm doing the standings this week, I've got a lot of work to do with the constructors to put the arrows in. Great. Anyway, that is it for tonight's proceedings. Hope you all enjoyed another fantastic night here on Apex Online Racing's F1 PS4 Top Tier. We will be back next week during the break week, so we will be pretty much the only action next Sunday. Come join us at 7 o'clock. Keep us company. It's the Chinese Grand Prix, the rerun of what should have happened a couple of weeks ago. Should be an interesting race, but that is it for this evening. Thank you very much for joining us. Till next time, I've been Andy Campbell.
And I've been Kieran McGinley.
Take care of yourselves. We'll see you again next week. Ta-da.